As you just got notified, this meeting is going to be recorded, although we are going to pause the recording when we do our prayer. So I will just share that the meeting is being recorded today. We're here today to share a little bit about our oral history project, where we will be visiting Great Falls, Montana, July 29th to August 2nd, so at the end of this month. And we'll be in Montana requesting boarding school survivors to share their stories with us. So we're just going to talk a little bit about what that looks like, what the site visit looks like today. We're going to share a little bit of background about the oral history project, and we'll have our NAB staff introduce themselves. And then we'll save time at the end for any questions. So first, we'd like to start with an opening song and prayer. So I'm gonna jump to the opening song and prayer, and then we'll do introductions. So I'm going to ask our brother, Mr. Marky Bear Eagle, if he will open us up with a prayer or a song. So at this time, I'd like to have our NAB staff introduce themselves. I will start. Ani Bojo, Nimida Magizi Kwayandijnakas, Makwa Dedeman Namamian Bawating Minwa Nopaming Donjaba. Hello, everybody. My spirit name is Dancing Eagle Woman. My English or given name is Charlie. I go by Charlie Brissett, and I am the Oral History Project team lead. I'm also one of the oral historians. So what that means is I am one of the people that does the interviews with our boarding school survivors, and I also assist with some outreach for our tribal organizations and leadership, as well as survivor outreach. And I, along with Lacey, will be kind of leading our PowerPoint presentation today, and we'll be moderating any questions at the end. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Lacey.
Ani Boju, Makwa Dekwe Indigenous, Makwadodum, and Escanaba and Dochbia. My name is Lacey Kennart, Bare-Hearted Woman. I am Sault Ste. Marie Ojibwe from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, same tribe as Charlie, and I now live in the Twin Cities area for NABS. I am NABS's programs coordinator and help with the leadership team for the Oral History Project, and help with the logistics planning, scheduling, things like that for each site. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for joining us, and I will pass it along to Meg.
I'm on a conference call. I'm on a conference call.
Yat do shidene Meg Singer Yenishye. Bish Bechae Nishli Bashish Chin Kia Ani Dashish Che Dashanale. My name is Meg Singer. I'm assistant of the Navajo Nation by way of Cameron, Arizona, and currently reside in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm the Director of Community Impact. I want to thank everybody for coming out today, especially to our people who went to, our relatives who went to boarding school. Thank you for being here, and yeah, thank you. And I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Denise Lashmadier.
Bonjour, and then away Magana Duke. I greet you all as my relatives today. Awabishka Benes, Awanakwat Tikwe, Dejanakaz, Ashijak Nedodame, and Mekanakwajun and Dunjiba. My home is the Turtle Mountain Reservation in northern North Dakota. My spirit name, tribal name is White Thundercloud Woman, and I am Crane Clan. I am one of the 3 oral historians for the project. I was a retired professor for 6 years before I signed up to be an oral historian, but I've been doing research and interviewing boarding school survivors for about 12 years. So very happy to be here today and to greet all of you. Language. Cleora?
Shodaji, Bachicham Ichish, Balajam, Apsalakabik. My name is Cleora Scott. I am a citizen of the Apsalaca Nation, or the Crow Tribe. I serve at NABS as the development director, and I will be on site to support the work of the Oral History Project in Great Falls, and look forward to visiting Montana. I currently reside in Tulalip, Washington, although I was born and raised in Montana on the Crow Reservation. So is anyone not gone? Everyone's gone? Oh, all right, Marky, you're next.
Hopefully. Dayawa Chiang Kapalo. Marky Berigo Emachiapalo. Oglala Lakota Hemacha. Well, it's good to see you all. I see a lot of names here, relatives. It's good that you came to get in this meeting with us. And I also want to say it's good to send our voice out, as this becomes a recording to whoever may be watching this later. Thank you for your time and learning about what we're doing here. I guess I didn't translate what I said earlier. My name is Marky Berigo. Well, I come from the Oglala Lakota Nation. That's where I was raised from, and also my mother is from Turtle Mountain, Anishinaabe, and I'm one of the oral historians. And I think that's all of us, right?
Mm-hmm. Miigwech, Marky. So I would also like to share at this time that we do have a couple of our staff who are not able to attend today. Dr. Samuel Torres, he is the Deputy CEO of NABS and the Senior Oral History Project Director. He's not able to be with us today, but I know he sends his love and his thoughts to us as we do our virtual gathering today, as well as our elder in residence, Sandy Whitehawk. She's not able to be with us today as well, but she is one of our staff members who travels with us to these site visits to help our survivors sort of decompress and provide support in our quiet rooms, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So she's also not able to be with us today. At this time, I would like to invite Dr. Ramona Klein to introduce herself if she is willing and able. If you can, Dr. Ramona, we would love to have you introduce yourself.
Thank you. As long as I could get all my devices working. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Hello, I'm Ramona Charette Klein. I'm enrolled at Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa in Belcourt, North Dakota. I serve on the board for NABS, and I also accompanied this team on their fourth stop in Bismarck, and it was very enlightening. It was a gift to me. And I've done some follow-up calls with people I had contacted to attend the interviewing, and I am very touched by their remarks. One person told me that was the first time he was heard, that he felt like he was heard, and so he is very grateful for that. Another person told me that she was tired, but in a very good way. I spoke with her yesterday, and I touched base with another elder who also attended. I think about 3 times. I was in touch with that couple, and they are very grateful for the work that NABS is doing. So I just want to share that in case there's some for the team, as well as if someone is on that is thinking about being interviewed. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Dr. Klein. So I'm going to start, and yes, Ramona has been extremely helpful and supportive of our of what we're doing in this project. So miigwech, Dr. Ramona.
You're welcome.
So at this time, I'm going to share my screen again, and then I'm going to pass it over to Lacey to talk a little bit about the background of our oral history project.
Thank you, Charlie. And thank you, Grandma Ramona.
You're welcome.
Our grandma is our MVP lately on helping us out. So we're very grateful to have her with us in Montana as well. So more about this project. Where did it come from? This project is in part with the Department of Interior because of our anti-Deb Secretary Deb Haaland. In June of 2021, she created the Federal Indian Boarding School Initiative, and this oral history project is part of that. So NABS received a grant from the Department of Interior to conduct this work. And NABS is a team of all natives doing this work where we have a connection to this work because our family members have attended boarding school. So they chose us to travel across the country to 20 different states until mid 2026 to collect these oral history stories to create a permanent oral history collection. And it's so that the United States has a permanent collection that's accessible by all, that long after we're gone and our grandchildren are gone, that this story and our experiences, what happened to us and our people and our families doesn't go away, so that people can always know what happened to us and it's told by us. So that's the project and how it came to be. And this project, our CEO, Deb Parker, feels very strongly about it because it's what we've been asking for as Native people for the government to acknowledge what happened to us through their policies and through their funding of what they did to our people as a whole and how it impacts us individually and as tribal nations. So in preserving our voices and listening to our survivors and helping them on this journey, it's really important and it's life-changing, but it's that we asked for this. So here's a quote from her. She says, "This historic project is a lifeline to preserving the voices and memories of Indian boarding school survivors." And it's because we should have been doing this a long time ago, but you know, we're losing survivors. So it's important for us to hear what truly happened. So our schedule, like I mentioned, we're going to 20 different states over the next, it's a 2-year project. We've done 4 spots already, and this next stop is in Great Falls, Montana for July. Each month, towards the end of the month, we go to a different state and we're there for a whole week. So as you can see, we have 1 each month, Montana, then New York next month, Michigan in September, Utah in October, and New Mexico in November. There's no stop in December, but we start right back up again in January. So if you know of any other people across the country that would be interested, just have them check our social medias, check our website. They can sign up on our newsletter to see what's going on and what our next stop is. And then for the week while we're in Montana, it's very similar for every location that we go to. We like to start it out on a Monday with an opening ceremony and then closing it out on Friday with a closing ceremony. So that opening ceremony is very community-based, very low-key, a loving environment where we open in a circle, started out in prayer and song, honor the territory that we're on and the people that we're working with and relatives that we're working with, and sharing a meal together and getting to know each other and answer any questions and just explain the process if there's any hesitancies or questions or any unknowns. And then we do interviews from Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning. The difference with this site location, because Montana is a state that we have a lot of coalition members and a lot of contact with survivors, we know it's going to be a packed schedule. So we are right now leaving our closing ceremony time somewhat open. If it may be around 3 o'clock or it may be around 6 o'clock, depending on how many survivors sign up, so that we don't have to turn anybody away, that we may just have to move our closing ceremony a little later than normal. We want to make sure that we offer this time in this time slot to anybody who wants to share their story. So we're being flexible with the schedule. as far as the closing ceremony. So, but we will be posting it on our social media, sending emails out. If people have already signed up, we'll be making those phone calls to make sure everybody's informed when we do decide the time. And we'll probably know about next week about of confirming a time for those. But it will be at the Little Shell Tribe Elder Center. The whole week is where we will be there. And so you come into the same location for your interview, for the opening and closing ceremonies, and we also have a craft station, which Charlie will get into in a minute, but it's just a very community family environment, vibe, energy, where everybody's welcome to just come hang out before, after your interview. And then just more about the interview process is it's not open to the public for the interviews themselves. So the interviews are done in private, but the welcoming room, that part is open to the public. But when our survivors are sharing their story, that's not open for people to sit in and listen to. And then I will pass it back to Charlie to explain the interview process and what that all looks like.
All right, miigwech, Lacey. So as she mentioned, the interviews themselves are not public. Of course, they're being recorded to be saved in a public location for later. But when we're doing the interviews, it is just the historian, the interviewer, the survivor, and the videographer. So there's just 3 of us in a room. So it's very personal, it's quiet, it's a safe space. We work really hard to try to create a safe space and a sacred space the whole week. So a little bit more about the interview process. We start with signups, either at the boardingschoolhealing.org/oral history project. There's a button on there where you can fill out a form to sign up. Or you can email the Oral History Project at nabshc.org, and we can include these in the chat. Or you can call this number, which will go to myself. It is 651-650-4445. You can call that number to sign up to be interviewed. And then what we do from there is one of the historians, myself, Denise, or Marky, will reach out to the survivor and our relative and start building that relationship, start making those connections and asking about, which boarding school did you attend? What years did you attend? When, and then finding out when they would like to be scheduled, what works for their schedule to be interviewed the week that we're in Montana. So like I said, we get to know our relatives and we start building a relationship. So then we set up an interview time, we explain the process over the phone, we follow up with an email if necessary. We talk about the consent form and the consent process, and we answer any questions about the process. So then the day of the interview, our relatives come in and they're welcomed in our welcome space. So they'll be welcomed by, the historian, by NAB staff, Meg usually, or any one of us that's there. So we welcome them. We have a seat. We kind of get comfortable with the space. Have some snacks. There's always refreshments and coffee provided. And we kind of start, talking about what the day will look like. We go over the overview of the day, basically the steps of the day, what that's going to look like. So from there, we do the consent form process, and then we go to portrait photography. So our relatives, our survivors, get their professional portrait taken, and they'll be able to keep this portrait. And then again, we go over the consent form. From there, we go into the interview. And as mentioned, the interview is just the 3 people in the space. The interview takes anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes to 90 minutes. It really depends on the survivor and the stories that they want to share. We have a list of questions that we're willing to share with our survivors so that they can look at them ahead of time, get familiar with them, think about what they may want to share, what they may want to say. And then from the interview space, we go to the quiet or the debrief room, which in this room is where our elder in residence, Sandy Whitehawk, will be, or a native licensed professional counselor, Serene Thin Elk, who's going to be with us in Montana. And so we kind of spend some time in that quiet room, that debrief room, to just sort of decompress and make sure that we're in a good space before, coming back to the welcome room. Because after the quiet room, where our relatives spend about 30 minutes, or as much time as they need, really, we come back to the welcome room where they're given an honorarium of $100 cash and then a transportation stipend, depending on how far they traveled. So we really try to create a safe space, provide comfort, provide relatives to visit, and we have that craft station as well, where our relatives can craft necklaces or bracelets or things like that. So this image shows our quiet room with our elder in residence, Sandy, from Oklahoma. So we make the space as comfortable as possible. Again, this is a space where our relatives can decompress after their interview, and they can take as little or as much time as they need. And then afterwards, we mail a care package. This care package contains items from Native artisans all over Turtle Country, or Turtle, what am I saying? Anyways, Turtle Island. Yeah, total mind blank there.
We're thinking about Turtle Mountain, where we just came from, Turtle Mountain area.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. So this care package contains items from Native artisans all over Turtle Island. It contains like a coloring book, some coloring pencils, some teas, some salves, some information about NABS programs, a fan, a little bag, a smudge kit, different things like that. So our relatives receive this care package in the mail about a week or 2 weeks after the interview, which they really love. It's like, getting a present in the mail. It just, we love hearing from our relatives afterwards, after they open up their care package, because we just want to show how much we love them. And then now I'm going to hand it back to Lacey. She's going to talk a little bit more about the opening and closing ceremonies.
Sure. So here's a photo of our first stop in Oklahoma, where we had an opening ceremony with Chief Gordon Yellowman. And he welcomed us onto his territory and started out this whole ceremony. And when I say the whole ceremony, it's this whole project from start to finish, opening up in a really good way and welcoming us to his area and giving us permission to work with the people of his area. And so that's our Deputy CEO and Project Director Sam Torres talking with Gordon. So we started out like this each way, but every opening and closing ceremony looks different. So we're not set in a rigid tone where we have a rigid schedule. It's very fluid, and we adapt to what the area that we're in and people that want to speak, and ceremony people that want to sing or drum. So we like to work with people that are local to the area to open and close us in a good way. This next photo is of Meg helping one of our survivors get pretty or doll up their hair. This is an example of our portrait photography room. So that's Jeff Ferguson. He's the portrait photographer that is at each site location, and he likes to just chat and warm up the area and get to talking to make you feel comfortable for a while and just snap some photos. We will share the photos once we are done with the project, or when we're able to share them. So we haven't been able to share any yet, but we will be soon. And as soon as that happens, we will be reaching out to each survivor to see how they want it. Is it digital? Is it printed, mailed, emailed, on a CD, on a zip drive or a flash drive? So, and the same for the recorded interview as well. That may take a little longer than the portrait photography, but each survivor does get a copy of their of their interview, and us as NABs wanted to make sure that that was included in our partnership with the DOI, because we believe in the survivor owning their story, not anybody else, and that they have a copy to share with whoever that they want. So here is Meg just working with the survivor. This next photo is one of our craft stations in Alaska. Our craft stations are becoming more and more popular at each site, and our collection of beads and goodies are growing from each site as well. We shop at local native stores, trading posts to gather all these supplies and beads, and what people are creating is just beautiful, and you get to take it home. So it's not like you just create it and have to leave it there. You can create it for whoever and take it home or gift it or whatever, but it's a nice visiting area. And Meg is like the queen of it. She likes to, you'll find Meg at the craft station. So if anybody wants to visit and talk, that's where you can do it with Meg. And any of us that have time, I love to sit there too. We all do. And then here is a closing ceremony group that we had in Minneapolis. And our opening ceremony is beautiful, but we always usually end up having a much larger group at our closing ceremony, because survivors will come back, bring their family members, the word will spread around the community more. And it's just an open ceremony for people to come have a nice meal and hang out and visit with each other and just have a nice vibe, good energy. So this is a lot of us. It's a lot of more of NAB staff in this picture as well, because NABS is located in Minneapolis. So this is one of my favorite photos from OHP. And then here is a slide for you to take a photo, for you to share with anybody to have them sign up. This is how you can contact. There's 3 ways: email, phone, or that QR code that goes to our website to sign up. So we would love to hear from you. Share with anybody that you know may or may not have went to boarding school, may or may not be interested. Even if they don't think they went to a federally funded school, please sign up anyway. We have a list that we can check, because a lot of times schools have different names. So you may not find them on a list, but on our list with all of the names, we can make sure that that we get them signed up. So yeah. Next questions. So we do have a question. Oh, go ahead, Charlie.
Okay. Yeah, at this time, we'll take any questions that people may have. Let's see. Are the interviews only for those from federally funded boarding schools? The answer to that is yes. At this time, it's for survivors from federally supported boarding schools, because this is a grant from the Department of Interior. Because this is a grant from the Department of Interior, we have to interview survivors that are from federally supported schools. We hope to change that in the future, and NABS is working on Megan, if you want to share a little bit more about this too, but we're working on programs where we can have survivors share their stories with NABS in the future, so that we can open it up to everybody that wants to share their story.
May I say something?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there might be some clarification. Federally supported boarding schools, there were some church operated schools that were also federally supported, correct?
Correct.
So that might
So
that may need to be clarified, because some people may not realize that the church operated schools were federally funded.
Yes, exactly. Which is why we encourage people to sign up no matter what, because we can find out, if a school was federally supported or not, because many times there are religious run institutions that may not seem, or people may not realize that they were federally supported.
Right. Thank you.
In the majority of the schools out of the 523 that were in this country, the majority of them, over 400 of them, were federally supported. So it's a
Yes.
good chance that it was federally supported. But if there's ever any questions, we can look into that.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
even, let's say a survivor attended 3 different schools, 2 of them were not federally supported, but 1 was, you qualify. So,
Mm.
and we want to hear the stories of all of them, not just the federally
Mhm.
supported. We want to hear anything
Exactly.
you want to share, so.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? You can put them in the chat, or you're welcome to unmute yourself. Now's the time to ask.
Is there any way to verify for particular schools? I mean, most answers you will know, but Brainerd in particular, which I noted in the chat, Brainerd was a Allegheny Wesleyan Methodist run school. I wonder if the feds ever gave any funds to that institution, would that qualify? And how do we find that out? Because there's very scant records on Brainerd. Almost
Yeah.
no one has heard of it. And I'm piloting a project to interview survivors of Brainerd. We're having a healing, wiping the tears ceremony outside Hot Springs, South Dakota in the middle of August for a dozen or so survivors on this initial
Wow.
run. And that's in conjunction with the Nature Conservancy, who is funding the venture. So
Wow.
I'm pretty well invested in this and whatever information I can get. And a follow-up question would be, since I'm interviewing folks, is there a way to access your interview questions so that I know I'm doing it properly?
Good question.
want me-
I'm gonna start with Lacey, and then I'll answer the follow-up question.
Okay, on our list right now, it says Brainerd indicates no evidence of federal support. However, we will look into it more because this is our publicized list, but research is going on every day that may change that. So we will check to make sure, and we will follow up with you, Ray. We have your email from your sign up for this, so we can reach out. And then to answer your question about the interview questions, technically, we are not to share the questions out to public, but let's have a conversation since you're working on that project, and we can be allies and relatives in this work together. That's awesome that you're doing a wiping of the tear ceremony. So let's talk. We can set up a Zoom meeting.
I would definitely love to do that. Just a side note. So the way I credit you all with the awesome work that you do, and the work that you did in updating the list from 407 to 523 was the nexus of my project on Brainerd, because
Oh,
neither
wow.
one of us had heard of it. And the third member of my master's committee at the time said, "Have you ever heard of Brainerd?" I just had a conversation with my Nature Conservancy folks over in Rapid City. And I said, "No, I hadn't." He hadn't. He said, "I have a project for you." And then we were off to the races.
Wow. Thank you for that too. Denise,
Yeah.
Hi, Ray, how do I get rid of that? I have a book out. It's called Stringing Rosaries. I wrote while I was a professor, and I interviewed boarding school survivors. And in the back of the book is my interview protocol. So maybe one of you tech people can put a link to Stringing Rosaries for him or email it to him. So a lot of the questions that we ask are actually from my interview protocol in my book. We worked on the questions for a long time, all of us. But that would give you a start on just the protocol of how to interview elders and how to take care of them and take care of yourself. So it's called Stringing Rosaries.
I am so honored to be talking to you.
Oh.
I have not read the book yet,
Mhm.
but it's on my list. And I did briefly, now that you jogged my memory, I do remember your list of questions in the back, and I wanted to get that list going. Thank you so much for that.
You bet. Yeah, I'm in good. Thank you.
So we have one more question or two more questions in the chat. What is the purpose for this? And is anyone going to be held accountable? Very good question. So what I share with relatives for the purpose is, you know, part of why we're doing this is to help increase awareness to what happened to our relatives and our ancestors in the federal boarding school era and during the assimilative policy era, to help raise awareness and to help educate people about what actually happened in these schools. And as Lacey said earlier, from the perspective of those who actually attended the schools, not from a secondhand source, not from anybody else, but directly from the mouths of our relatives that attended boarding school. So the purpose is to learn, you know, what actually happened in these boarding schools. And we want to hear everybody's story. We want to hear the good stories. We want to hear the bad stories and everything in between. And so we're listening to our relatives, you know, that have stories to share. And is anyone going to be held accountable? So again, this is part of why we want to record these stories, because, and Lacey can share more eloquently about this, but, you know, we have a bill that is trying to get passed in the Senate right now, and our representatives can, you know, will be able to access these stories to say, this is why we need to pass this bill, because this is what our relatives, this is what our ancestors have gone through. So they can find the support in the stories that we're gathering, that we hope, you know, we hope to share these stories this way. So Lacey, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, you did great. Just to expand on that, this is on the path towards accountability. First, we need to know the whole truth of what we want to hold these people accountable for. So like our saying is truth, justice, healing. We're still in the truth seeking phase where we need to know what happened first. We need to know what happened to our relatives, where they went, if they went missing once they went to boarding school, if they died there. We still don't know the whole picture. So we're in that phase right now. And then once we get a better understanding of everything that truly did happen, then we can go to the justice phase of the accountability phase. And it goes in line. This is huge, right? Like, we're just in the beginning of this movement, really. And what the Truth and Healing Commission bill, which is very, very close to going to the floors to be voted on, we're the farthest that we've ever been in the process in front of the federal Congress. And we really think it's going to pass this time. And it's to get a whole truth and picture and investigation of what really happened. And then at the end of that 6-year commission, having a list of recommendations to go to Congress. And what does that look like? So the commission is going to be traveling all over the country, listening to survivors, descendants, relatives, tribal nations, of what do they want? So it's going to come from Indian country and the voice from Indian country to Congress. So we're just in the beginning. We're just in the beginning. And our Dr. Denise Lajmadir is a founder of NABS. And, you know, 10, 11, 12 years ago when NABS was created, where we're at today was a dream. And so this movement is very fast moving. It's getting a lot of public attention, and our survivors are coming to a place where they feel comfortable sharing their story. For a long time, they weren't believed. And this project, NABS as a whole, but this project alone is giving them an opportunity to stand and share their truth, and for the government to hear it, and for the public to hear it, and that they're believed and supported and trusted and held safe and honored. So that was a long
Mhm.
answer, but I hope
a good
we
one.
answered.
Miigwech,
Uh,
Lacey.
I just wanted to answer or I don't see it, but we didn't touch on the fact that we do offer hotel rooms to anybody that's traveling from a distance and want to stay a night or even two, depending on the time of the interview and how far they have to travel. So we have that where we pay for it, we book it. I guess the Montana State Fair is in Great Falls the same week that we are in, so we do have a limited number of rooms that are available to us, but we do have rooms available, and that's in addition to the travel stipend, where it'll be either $50 if you're like in Great Falls, or anything out of Great Falls, it'll be $100 gift card, just a Visa gift card. So if you need a hotel room, talk with the person that you sign up with, if that's Charlie or Moki or Denise, just let us know and we'll get you signed up.
Yes, perfect. Miigwech. Are there any other questions before we wrap up today? Good questions. As we mentioned, there's contact information. We'll include the contact information for us in the chat box, a phone number to call, and the sign up. It's in the chat box already, but we'll include it again. Just thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing and asking these questions. We really are looking forward to our Montana visit, and so hopefully you'll be able to attend either our opening or closing ceremony with us. We would love to see you and spend time with you. But otherwise, thank you for coming, and we will talk to you later. We hope you have a great rest of your day. So miigwech. Miigwech, everybody.